Tae-ho Kim stared at the housing assignment paper in his hands. Room 347, Building C. Neosol University. Nothing unusual about that. What made his stomach twist was the name below his own. Velthar. Exchange student. Nexus Collective. His first alien roommate. 3 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Exchange Program. Tae-ho had seen aliens on campus before, but living with one was different. He grabbed his bags and headed to the dormitory, wondering what he had gotten himself into. The elevator hummed as it carried him to the 3rd floor. When the doors opened, he could already hear strange sounds coming from down the hall. Musical tones that seemed to dance in the air, like a crystal wind chime in a gentle breeze. Room 347 was at the end of the corridor. Tae-ho knocked on the door and the musical sound stopped immediately. "Enter," came a voice that sounded like it was speaking through water. Tae-ho pushed open the door and froze. His roommate stood in the center of the room, but stood was not quite right. Velthar looked like a walking crystal sculpture, about 7 feet tall with faceted surfaces that caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. Where a human would have eyes, there were 2 bright blue lights that pulsed gently. "You are Tae-ho Kim," Velthar said. It was not a question. The alien's voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Yes," Tae-ho managed. "And you're Velthar?" "Correct. I have prepared the living space according to human comfort requirements." Velthar gestured with what might have been an arm. "Your sleeping area is there. I do not require sleep, so I will not disturb your rest cycles." Tae-ho looked around the room. It was divided perfectly in half. His side had a bed, desk, and dresser, all normal human furniture. Velthar's side had what looked like a large crystal formation growing out of the floor, surrounded by several floating geometric shapes that hummed softly. "What are you studying here?" Tae-ho asked, setting his bags down. "Human behavior patterns," Velthar replied. The blue lights in their crystal face brightened. "Your species is most unusual. I am here to understand why humans form long-term partnerships for genetic reproduction." Tae-ho felt his face grow warm. "Oh, that's an interesting topic. Indeed. My species reproduces through energy transfer and consciousness merging. We do not understand why humans combine emotional attachment with genetic combination protocols." "Genetic combination protocols," Tae-ho repeated. "What you call making babies," Velthar explained matter-of-factly. Tae-ho nearly choked. "Right. Well, it's more complicated than that." Over the next few days, Tae-ho learned that living with Velthar was like sharing a room with a very polite, very curious scientific instrument. The alien observed everything. When Tae-ho brushed his teeth, Velthar took notes. When he ate breakfast, Velthar asked detailed questions about human digestive processes. The real attention started when Sora Park came to visit. Sora was Tae-ho's girlfriend of 8 months. She was a chemistry major with bright eyes and a quick laugh. When she knocked on the door that Friday evening, Tae-ho was doing homework at his desk. "Come in," he called. Sora entered and stopped short when she saw Velthar standing by the window. The alien had been perfectly still for the past hour, which Tae-ho had learned meant they were in deep thought. "Oh," Sora said. "You must be Velthar." "I'm Sora." The blue lights in Velthar's face focused on her immediately. "Sora Park, chemistry major, birth date April 15th, 2065. You are Tae-ho's reproductive partner." Sora's eyes went wide. "His what?" "Velthar is studying human relationships," Tae-ho said quickly. "They're from a species that doesn't, date." "How fascinating," Velthar said, moving closer. The crystal surfaces of their body began to glow softly. "You have been bonded for 8 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days. Yet you have not initiated genetic combination protocols." Sora looked at Tae-ho. "Are they asking why we haven't had kids yet?" "I think so," Tae-ho said. Velthar tilted their head, which involved their entire upper body shifting like a prism catching light. "In my research, I have observed that human reproductive partnerships serve multiple functions beyond genetic continuation. You display behaviors that suggest emotional bonding, resource sharing, and mutual comfort provision." "That's called being in love," Sora said, sitting on Tae-ho's bed. "Love," Velthar repeated. The words seemed to resonate through their crystal form. "This emotional state affects your decision-making processes, stress responses, and problem-solving abilities." "Yes," Tae-ho said. "It makes us happier, stronger sometimes, Curious. My people do not experience this phenomenon. We form temporary alliances for specific purposes, then separate when the task is complete. Velar paused. But humans maintain these bonds for years even when no immediate benefit is apparent. Sora reached over and took Taeho's hand. Because it feels good to have someone who cares about you. Velar's lights pulsed brighter. And this feeling affects your ability to reproduce? It's not just about reproducing, Taeho explained. We want to share our lives with someone we love. Having children together is just one part of that. But you could reproduce with any genetically compatible human, Velar pointed out. Why choose only one partner? Sora and Taeho looked at each other. How do you explain love to a being made of crystal? Because he makes me laugh, Sora said finally. Because when I'm sad he knows exactly what to say. Because when we're together everything feels possible. Velar was quiet for a long moment. Their crystal body dimmed, then brightened again. This creates a permanent neural pathway modification? Sort of, Taeho said. We change because we love each other. We become better versions of ourselves. Remarkable, Velar whispered. No other species in the galactic database exhibits this behavior pattern. You are unique. Later that evening, after Sora had gone back to her own dorm, Velar stood by the window looking out at the campus. Students walked in pairs and groups below, their laughter floating up through the night air. Taeho, Velar said. I wish to understand this phenomenon more completely. What do you mean? I want to study human reproductive behavior from direct observation. I need to find a research partner. Taeho sat up in bed. You want to date someone? I want to understand why humans choose to combine emotional bonding with physical reproduction. It may be the key to understanding why your species has advanced so rapidly since joining the galactic community. Velar, Taeho said carefully. Dating isn't really something you can study like a science experiment. The alien's lights pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps not. But I must try. Your species may hold secrets that could benefit the entire galaxy. As Taeho drifted off to sleep, he wondered what he had gotten himself into. Living with a curious alien was one thing. Helping them navigate human romance was something else entirely. Dr. Hanul looked up from her desk as the massive crystal figure entered her office. She had been expecting this visit ever since Velar had sent her a formal research proposal 3 days ago. Professor, Velar said, their voice creating small vibrations in the coffee cup on her desk. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Please sit, Dr. Hanul said, gesturing to the reinforced chair she had requested from maintenance. Though I have to say, your research proposal is quite unusual. Velar settled into the chair with a sound like wind chimes. I wish to study human reproductive behavior from a xenobiological perspective. My observations suggest that human pair bonding serves functions beyond genetic continuation. Dr. Hanul leaned back in her chair. She had spent 15 years studying alien biology. But this was the first time an alien wanted to study humans. What exactly have you observed? Humans who form long-term emotional bonds demonstrate superior stress management, enhanced problem-solving capabilities, and increased resilience during crisis situations, Velar explained. Their blue lights pulsed as they spoke. In my review of galactic databases, no other species exhibits this behavior pattern. That's correct, Dr. Hanul said. Most species reproduce for purely biological reasons. Genetic diversity, population maintenance, species survival. But humans appear to have evolved a system where emotional attachment enhances reproductive success and individual performance. Velar continued. I have observed Taeho Kim and Sora Park. When they are together, their biometric readings show decreased cortisol levels, increased oxytocin production, and elevated cognitive function. Dr. Hanul raised an eyebrow. You've been monitoring their biological responses? With their permission, naturally. All data collection follows proper ethical protocols. Velar's crystal body shifted slightly. The results are remarkable. Their problem-solving abilities increase by 37% when working together compared to working separately. Interesting, Dr. Hanul admitted. But what exactly are you proposing? I want to understand the process from direct experience, Velar said. I need to find a human partner and attempt to form the emotional bonds that lead to reproductive behavior. Dr. Hanul nearly spilled her coffee. You want to date someone? I want to research the formation of human pair bonds through participant observation, Velar corrected. My species reproduces through consciousness merging. We share thoughts and energy directly. Physical reproduction is unknown to us. Velthar, Dr. Hanul said carefully, human relationships are complex. They're not just biological processes. There are emotions, feelings, personal chemistry, which is precisely what I need to understand, Velthar said. My preliminary research suggests that these emotional connections are the key to humanity's rapid advancement in galactic society. Dr. Hanul frowned. What do you mean? Velthar's lights brightened. Humans have been part of the galactic community for only 3 years, yet they have already proposed solutions to problems that have puzzled other species for centuries. The Proxima Centauri mining dispute, the vegan trade negotiations, the atmospheric restoration of Kepler 442b. Human teams consistently outperform teams from other species. And you think this is because of our romantic relationships? I think this is because humans form genuine emotional connections that enhance cognitive function and creative thinking, Velthar said. Your pair bonding behavior may be the foundation of your species' unique problem-solving abilities. Dr. Hanul sat quietly for a moment, considering. It was an unusual request, but the potential scientific value was enormous. Who did you have in mind as a research partner? I was hoping you could recommend someone from the Xenocultural Studies Department, someone who would understand the scientific nature of the research. 2 hours later, Dr. Hanul found herself walking across campus to the graduate student offices. She knocked on the door of room 204 and waited. Come in, called a voice from inside. Mikyoung was hunched over her desk, surrounded by stacks of books and research papers. She was working on her thesis about communication patterns between species, and her desk showed it. Charts and diagrams covered every available surface. Professor Hanul, Mikyoung said, looking up. What brings you here? I have an unusual research opportunity, Dr. Hanul said. How would you feel about participating in a cross-species relationship study? Mikyoung blinked. What kind of study? One of our exchange students, Velthar from the Nexus Collective, wants to understand human pair bonding behavior. They're looking for a research partner to help them experience human emotional connections firsthand. You mean they want to date someone? Mikyoung asked. In the name of science, yes. Dr. Hanul sat down in the chair across from Mikyoung's desk. Velthar believes that human emotional bonding is connected to our species' enhanced problem-solving abilities. They want to study the process from direct observation. Mikyoung leaned back in her chair. That's actually fascinating. I've been studying interspecies communication for 2 years, but I've never considered the emotional component. Velthar's preliminary research suggests that human pair bonds create neural network enhancements that improve cognitive function, Dr. Hanul explained. If that's true, it could explain why human teams perform so well in galactic settings. What would the research involve? Velthar wants to experience the full spectrum of human courtship and relationship formation, dating, emotional bonding, and eventually, physical intimacy. Mikyoung's eyes widened. Physical intimacy with a crystal being? Velthar's species doesn't reproduce physically, so this would be entirely new territory for them. But they're genuinely interested in understanding what makes humans unique. Mikyoung looked out the window at the campus below. Students were walking in pairs and groups, some holding hands, some laughing together. She had always been fascinated by the way humans connected with each other. What's Velthar like? She asked. Intelligent, curious, and surprisingly gentle for a being made of crystal, Dr. Hanul said. They've been living with Taeho Kim for 2 weeks now, and Taeho says they're very considerate. And this would be official research? Completely official. The university would provide funding, ethical oversight, and academic credit. You could even incorporate it into your thesis work. Mikyoung thought for a moment. The opportunity was unprecedented. No human had ever attempted to form a romantic relationship with a non-humanoid alien species. The academic possibilities were endless. I'd like to meet Velthar first, she said finally. Of course. Would tomorrow afternoon work? The next day, Mikyoung found herself standing outside Building C, holding a small notebook and trying to calm her nerves. She had spent the previous evening reading everything she could find about the Nexus Collective and their crystal-based life forms. When she knocked on the door of room 347, it opened immediately. Taeho stood there with a slightly worried expression. You must be Mikyoung, he said. Velthar is really excited to meet you. Just, be prepared. They're very direct. Mikyoung stepped into the room and saw Velthar standing by the window. Sunlight streamed through their crystal body, casting rainbow patterns across the walls. When they turned to face her, their blue lights pulsed with what she could only describe as curiosity. "Mikyoung," Velthar said, their voice filling the room like music. "I have reviewed your academic work. Your research on interspecies communication patterns is impressive." "Thank you," Mikyoung said. "Dr. Hanul told me about your research proposal. I'm interested in participating." Velthar's lights brightened considerably. "Excellent. I should explain that this research will require you to teach me about human emotions, courtship behaviors, and the development of emotional bonds." "I understand," Mikyoung said. "But I should explain that I can't just manufacture feelings for you. Human emotions don't work that way." "I am aware," Velthar said, "which is why this research is so fascinating. Human pair bonding appears to be spontaneous and unpredictable, yet it produces measurable improvements in cognitive function and stress resistance." Mikyoung looked at the alien's crystal form, trying to imagine what it would be like to develop feelings for someone so completely different from herself. It seemed impossible, but that was what made it scientifically interesting. "When do we start?" she asked. Director Sang-woo looked over the paperwork one more time before signing it. The Cultural Intimacy Research Project was officially approved, making it the first study of its kind in galactic history. "Are you sure about this?" he asked Dr. Hanul, who sat across from his desk. "We're talking about a romantic relationship between a human and a crystalline life form. The potential scientific value is enormous," Dr. Hanul replied. "If Velthar is correct, human pair bonding could be the key to understanding our species' unique abilities in galactic society." Director Sang-woo nodded slowly. "And Mikyoung understands what she's agreeing to?" "She's excited about it, actually. This could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies relationships." Down the hall, Mikyoung was having her first official meeting with Velthar in the research laboratory. The room had been equipped with monitoring equipment to track their biological responses during interactions. "Before we begin," Mikyoung said, "I need to understand how your species experiences relationships." Velthar stood near the window, their crystal body catching the afternoon light. "My people form temporary alliances based on shared goals or compatible energy patterns. When the purpose is fulfilled, we separate without emotional attachment. So you don't feel loneliness or desire for companionship?" "Not in the way humans do," Velthar admitted. "We are complete as individuals. We do not require external validation or emotional support." Mikyoung made notes in her tablet. "But you're curious about human emotional bonds?" "Extremely curious. Your species appears to become stronger through emotional vulnerability. This contradicts everything we understand about efficient survival strategies. Emotional vulnerability makes us stronger because it requires trust," Mikyoung explained. "When we open ourselves to another person, we're taking a risk. But if that trust is returned, it creates a connection that enhances both people." Velthar's blue lights pulsed thoughtfully. "Demonstrate this concept," Mikyoung paused. "Demonstrate vulnerability?" "Show me how humans begin the process of emotional bonding." Mikyoung thought for a moment. "Well, usually it starts with sharing personal information. Things that matter to us or things we're worried about." "I understand, proceed," Mikyoung laughed. "It doesn't work like that, Velthar. I can't just turn on vulnerability like a switch. It has to happen naturally." "How do we create natural conditions for vulnerability?" "We spend time together. We talk about things we care about. We learn about each other's interests and fears and dreams." Over the next few days, they established a routine. Every afternoon, Mikyoung would come to the laboratory, and they would spend 2 hours in conversation. Velthar approached it like a science experiment, asking detailed questions about human emotions and social behaviors. "Explain jealousy," Velthar said during their third session. "Jealousy is when you're afraid someone might take away something you care about," Mikyoung said, "usually another person's attention or affection. But if emotional bonds are beneficial, why would humans fear losing them?" "Because once you have that connection, life without it feels incomplete," Mikyoung explained. "It's like, imagine if you suddenly lost your ability to think clearly. You'd feel diminished." Velthar was quiet for a long moment. "You are saying that emotional bonds become necessary for optimal function?" "For many humans, yes. We become accustomed to having someone who understands us, supports us, cares about our well-being. Losing that is painful." This seems like a dangerous dependency. It can be, Mikyoung admitted. But it's also what makes love so powerful. When someone chooses to be with you despite the risk, it means something. On their 5th session, something shifted. Mikyoung arrived to find Velar standing in a different position than usual. Their crystal body angled toward the door as if they had been waiting for her. "You seem different today," Mikyoung observed. "I have been processing our previous conversations," Velar said. "I find myself anticipating our meetings." Mikyoung felt a small flutter of surprise. "Anticipating them how?" "When you are not here, I review our discussions. I formulate questions I want to ask you. I experience what I can only describe as eagerness for your return." "That sounds like the beginning of emotional attachment," Mikyoung said softly. "Is this normal?" "Very normal. It means you're starting to care about me as an individual, not just as a research subject." Velar's lights dimmed slightly. "I did not expect this development. My species does not form attachments to individuals. But you're not on your home planet anymore," Mikyoung pointed out. "You're in a human environment, trying to understand human emotions. Maybe you're adapting." Meanwhile, word of the research project had spread throughout the campus. Other alien students began approaching Dr. Hanul with questions about human relationships. Krista, an insectoid student from the Hive Collective, requested a meeting to discuss the project. She stood in Dr. Hanul's office, her 6 arms gesticulating as she spoke. "My species reproduces through chemical synchronization," Krista explained. "All females in a region enter reproductive cycles simultaneously. There is no individual choice or emotional component." "And you're interested in human pair bonding?" Dr. Hanul asked. "I observe human couples on campus. They seem to enhance each other's capabilities. In my species, reproduction is purely functional, but humans appear to gain benefits beyond genetic continuation." "Velar is studying the same phenomenon," Dr. Hanul said. "Perhaps you could observe their research progress." "May I attend their sessions?" Dr. Hanul considered this. Having additional alien perspectives could provide valuable data about how different species viewed human relationships. The next day, Krista joined Mikyoung and Velar in the laboratory. Her compound eyes focused intently on their interactions. "Explain the concept of missing someone," Krista said during a pause in their conversation. Mikyoung looked at Velar. "When someone you care about isn't with you, you feel their absence. You wish they were there to share experiences with you?" "I believe I understand this concept now," Velar said quietly. "Yesterday evening I observed a beautiful sunset from our dormitory window. My first thought was that I wished you were there to see it with me." Mikyoung felt warmth spread through her chest. "That's exactly what missing someone feels like." Krista's antennae twitched. "But why would you want to share the experience?" "The sunset exists whether another individual observes it or not. Because sharing beautiful moments with someone you care about makes them more meaningful," Mikyoung explained. "It's like the experience becomes richer when it's shared." "Fascinating," Krista buzzed. "In my species, individual experiences are irrelevant. Only collective experiences matter." Velar turned toward Mikyoung. "Is this why human couples spend so much time together? To share experiences?" "Partly," Mikyoung said. "But also because we enjoy each other's company. Being with someone you love feels good." "Define feels good," Velar requested. Mikyoung struggled to find words. "How do you explain the warm contentment of being with someone you care about?" "When I'm with you now," she said carefully, "I feel comfortable, safe, like I can be completely myself without worrying about being judged." Velar's lights pulsed brighter. "I experience a similar state when you are present. My thought processes become more fluid and creative." "That's the cognitive enhancement Velar was talking about," Mikyoung realized. "We're actually experiencing it." Krista leaned forward. "Your brain functions improve when you are together?" "It seems that way," Mikyoung said. "I feel more confident, more optimistic when I'm around Velar, and I find myself generating more innovative solutions to problems when we are in conversation." Velar added. "This is remarkable," Krista buzzed excitedly. "You are demonstrating the enhancement effect in real time." Mikyoung looked at Velar with new understanding. What had started as academic research was becoming something more. She was genuinely beginning to care about this strange, beautiful crystal being. "Velar," she said softly, "I think our research is working better than we expected." The blue lights in Veltar's face pulsed gently. I agree. I find myself caring about your well-being in ways that serve no logical purpose. That's called affection, Mikyoung said with a smile. Affection, Veltar repeated, as if testing the word. Yes, I believe I am developing affection for you, Mikyoung. Krista's compound eyes widened. You are forming an emotional bond. This is unprecedented. As they sat together in the laboratory, surrounded by monitoring equipment and research notes, Mikyoung realized that something extraordinary was happening. For the first time in galactic history, a human and a non-humanoid alien were falling in love. Jaemin checked the monitoring equipment one more time before Mikyoung and Veltar arrived for their session. As a medical student, he had been assigned to track their biological responses during the research project. What he was seeing in the data was unlike anything in his textbooks. Their neural patterns are synchronizing, he reported to Dr. Hanuel over the phone. When they're in conversation, their brain waves start to match each other's rhythm. That's not scientifically possible, Dr. Hanuel replied. Humans can't synchronize with crystalline life forms. I'm looking at the data right now, Jaemin said. Mikyoung's cortisol levels drop by 40% when Veltar enters the room, and somehow Veltar's energy emissions become more stable when Mikyoung is present. There was a pause on the other end of the line. We need to document everything. This could rewrite our understanding of interspecies interaction. When Mikyoung arrived that afternoon, she found Veltar standing in their usual spot by the window, but something was different. Their crystal body was glowing more brightly than usual, and the musical tones they made when thinking seemed more complex. You look different today, Mikyoung said, settling into her chair. I have been considering our research methodology, Veltar said. I believe we need to progress to the next phase of human pair bonding behavior. What do you mean? Veltar turned to face her fully. According to my research, humans express affection through physical contact. Hand-holding, embracing, kissing. I want to understand these behaviors. Mikyoung felt her heart rate increase. Veltar, physical affection isn't something you can just test out. It has to feel natural. But how do we determine what feels natural if we do not attempt it? Jaemin, monitoring from the next room, watched Mikyoung's biometric readings spike. Her heart rate had jumped from 70 beats per minute to 95. Maybe we could start small, Mikyoung suggested. Human physical affection usually begins with simple touches. Demonstrate, Veltar said, moving closer. Mikyoung hesitated, then slowly extended her hand toward Veltar's crystal arm. When her fingers made contact, she gasped. Veltar's surface was warm and smooth, like polished stone that had been sitting in sunlight. More surprisingly, she could feel a gentle vibration, as if energy was flowing just beneath the surface. Can you feel that? She asked. Yes, Veltar said, their voice softer than usual. Your touch creates resonance patterns in my structure. It is pleasant. In the monitoring room, Jaemin watched in amazement as both of their readings changed. Mikyoung's stress hormones dropped while her oxytocin levels rose. Veltar's energy output became more rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. This is remarkable, Mikyoung whispered. I can actually feel your energy, and I can sense your emotional state through the contact, Veltar replied. You are experiencing contentment and curiosity, with an underlying current of nervousness. That's exactly what I'm feeling. Over the following days, they experimented with different forms of physical contact. Veltar learned that humans use touch to communicate comfort, affection, and support. Mikyoung discovered that Veltar could modulate their crystal structure to create different textures and temperatures. Try this, Veltar said during one session, offering their hand to Mikyoung. When she took it, their surface shifted to become softer and warmer. How are you doing that? I am adjusting my molecular density to create a more pleasant tactile experience, Veltar explained. Is this better? It's incredible, Mikyoung said. You're adapting your body to be more compatible with human touch. I want to understand what brings you comfort, Veltar said simply. The breakthrough came during their 10th session. Mikyoung had arrived feeling stressed about her thesis deadline. She sat down heavily in her chair and rubbed her temples. You are experiencing distress, Veltar observed. Just thesis pressure, Mikyoung sighed. I have 3 chapters due next week and I can't seem to organize my thoughts. Without being asked, Veltar moved to stand behind her chair. May I attempt to provide comfort?
Sure, Mikyoung said. Velthar gently placed their hands on her shoulders.
Immediately, Mikyoung felt a warm, calming energy flow through her. Her muscles relaxed and her mind felt clearer. How are you doing that? She asked, leaning back against Velthar's solid form. I am sharing my energy with you, Velthar explained. My species can transfer emotional states through direct contact. I did not know if it would work with humans. It works, Mikyoung said softly. I feel so much calmer. In the monitoring room, Jae-min was frantically taking notes. Mikyoung's stress hormones had dropped to below normal levels while her focus and cognitive function readings had spiked. This is what enhanced partnership looks like, he muttered to himself. They're literally making each other better. As the session continued, something unexpected happened. Mikyoung found herself turning in her chair to face Velthar. Their blue lights were pulsing gently and she could see her own reflection in their crystal surfaces. Velthar, she said quietly, I need to tell you something. Yes?
This isn't just research for me anymore.
I care about you, not as a subject but as someone important to me. Velthar's lights brightened considerably. I have been experiencing similar changes in my programming. When you are not here, I find myself counting the time until your return. When you are present, my processes operate at optimal efficiency. In human terms, that means you're developing feelings for me too. I believe so, though I lack the proper framework to understand these sensations. Mikyoung stood up and moved closer to Velthar. In human relationships, when two people care about each other, they usually express it physically. How? Like this, Mikyoung said, reaching up to gently touch the sides of Velthar's crystal face. The moment her hands made contact, both of them froze. Energy flowed between them like electricity, but gentle and warm.
Velthar's entire body began to glow more brightly, casting rainbow patterns across the walls.
Mikyoung,
Velthar whispered. I understand now.
This is what humans call intimacy. Yes, she said, her hands still against their crystal surface. This is when two people connect on every level. I want to experience more of this connection, Velthar said, but I do not know how to proceed. We figure it out together, Mikyoung said. That's what relationships are about. In the weeks that followed, they explored the boundaries of interspecies intimacy. Velthar learned to modulate their energy to create pleasure and comfort for Mikyoung. Mikyoung taught Velthar about human emotions, desires, and the complex psychology of romantic love. The physical aspect of their relationship required creativity and patience. Velthar could not reproduce in the traditional human sense, but they could share consciousness, energy, and something that felt remarkably like human passion. When my people merge consciousness, we share all thoughts and experiences temporarily, Velthar explained during one of their more intimate sessions. Would you like to experience this? Is it safe? Mikyoung asked. I will maintain barriers to protect your individual consciousness. You will remain yourself, but you will also experience existence from my perspective. When they tried it, Mikyoung found herself seeing the world through alien senses. She could perceive energy patterns, electromagnetic fields, and the underlying mathematical structures of reality. It was overwhelming and beautiful. This is how you see everything, she whispered in amazement. And through our connection I can experience your human sensations, Velthar replied. Color, texture, the warmth of sunlight on skin. Your species perceives beauty in ways mine never could. Jaemin's monitoring equipment was recording unprecedented data. Their brain activity had synchronized completely during the consciousness sharing, creating patterns that neither species had ever exhibited alone. They're not just bonding, he reported to Dr. Hanul. They're evolving, creating new forms of consciousness that combine both their species' capabilities. As their relationship deepened, word spread throughout the galactic community. Representatives from various species requested information about the human pair bonding research. The implications were staggering. If humans can form these enhanced partnerships with other species, Director Sang-woo said during an emergency faculty meeting, it could change the entire structure of galactic society. They're proving that emotional connection isn't just about reproduction, Dr. Hainul added. It's about creating something greater than the sum of its parts. But for Mikyoung and Velthar, the most important discovery was simpler. They had found something neither of them had been looking for when the research began. Genuine love that transcended the boundaries of species, biology, and everything they thought they knew about connection. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called after reports of the human pair bonding research reached the outer systems. Representative Quindar, a tall, thin being with silver skin and large black eyes, stood at the center of the great chamber as holographic displays showed data from Velar and Mikyoung's research. These findings suggest that humans possess abilities we have not previously documented, Quindar announced to the assembled representatives from 47 different species. Cross-species emotional bonding that enhances cognitive function in both partners. On Earth, Director Sang-woo was fielding calls from universities, governments, and research institutions across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to study the human phenomenon, but Velar and Mikyoung had become protective of their privacy. "We're not laboratory specimens," Mikyoung said firmly during a meeting with university officials. "What we have is real, and we won't let it be turned into a circus." Velar stood beside her, their crystal form radiating a protective energy. "Our relationship has value beyond its research applications. We have become more than the sum of our individual parts." Dr. Hanul looked at them with understanding. Over the past 3 months, she had watched them evolve from research partners to something unprecedented, the first genuine interspecies romantic couple in galactic history. "The Galactic Council wants to meet with you," she said gently. "But I can arrange for the meeting to be private, not public." "What do they want?" Mikyoung asked. "To understand how your relationship might be replicated. If humans can form these bonds with other species, it could revolutionize interspecies cooperation." Velthar's lights pulsed thoughtfully. "We are willing to share our findings, but not to be studied like experimental subjects." A week later, Representative Quindar arrived at Neo Seoul University with a small diplomatic team. The meeting was held in a private conference room, with only essential personnel present. "Your research has created significant interest throughout the galaxy," Quindar said, their large black eyes focusing on Mikyoung and Velar. "Many species are curious about human pair bonding capabilities. It's not something that can be taught or replicated artificially," Mikyoung explained. "Emotional bonds have to develop naturally, but the enhancement effects are measurable," Quindar pressed. "Your cognitive abilities increase by an average of 42% when you work together. Your stress resistance has tripled. These improvements could benefit entire civilizations." Velar moved closer to Mikyoung. "The enhancements are a result of genuine caring, not a technique that can be applied universally." "Explain the difference," Quindar requested. Mikyoung and Velar looked at each other. "How do you explain love to beings who have never experienced it?" "When I first met Velar, I was curious about them as a research subject," Mikyoung said. "But over time I began to care about their well-being, their thoughts, their happiness. That caring created a connection that goes beyond physical or intellectual compatibility. And I found myself prioritizing Mikyoung's needs alongside my own," Velar added. "This selfless concern for another being's welfare appears to be unique to humans and those influenced by human emotional patterns." Quindar leaned forward. "Are you saying that other species could learn to form these bonds by studying human behavior?" "Some might," Mikyoung said carefully. "But it requires vulnerability, trust, and the willingness to put another being's needs equal to your own. Not all species may be capable of that level of emotional openness." Representative Quindar was quiet for a long moment. "On my world, we reproduce through genetic programming. Parents are selected based on optimal trait combinations. There is no emotional component." "And how does that work for your society?" Velar asked. "Efficiently, but without the enhancements you demonstrate. Our individuals remain isolated in their capabilities. We have not achieved the synthesis you have created." Dr. Hanul spoke up. "That may be why human teams perform so well in galactic settings. We're not just individuals working together. We're forming temporary emotional bonds that enhance our collective abilities." "Fascinating," Quindar mused. "Your species may hold the key to solving problems that have persisted for millennia." Over the following days, Quindar observed Mikyoung and Velar's daily routines. They watched how the couple coordinated their schedules, shared meals, studied together, and supported each other through challenges. "You function as a single unit while maintaining individual identities," Quindar observed during one session. "This should be impossible." "It's called compromise and cooperation," Mikyoung laughed. Humans learn these skills in romantic relationships, but we also apply them in friendships, work teams, and family units. Your entire species is designed for collaborative enhancement, Quindar realized. This explains your rapid advancement in galactic society. Velar nodded. Humans instinctively form connections that improve group performance. Other species compete or cooperate for specific goals, but humans create emotional bonds that enhance all activities. As the week progressed, something unexpected happened. Quindar began to change. They started asking personal questions about Mikyoung and Velar's lives, showed concern for their comfort, and even began to express their own thoughts and feelings. I find myself curious about your daily experiences in ways that serve no logical purpose, Quindar admitted during their final meeting. Is this what you call emotional interest? Mikyoung smiled. It sounds like you're developing the capacity for emotional connection yourself. But my species does not form such bonds. Maybe your species just hasn't had the opportunity to learn, Velar suggested. Emotional bonding might be a skill that can be developed given the right environment. Quindar looked thoughtful. You are suggesting that proximity to humans could modify other species' behavior patterns? It's possible, Mikyoung said. If emotional bonding provides evolutionary advantages, other species might adapt to develop similar capabilities. When Quindar returned to the Galactic Council, their report was revolutionary. They recommended the establishment of interspecies emotional bonding research programs, with humans serving as teachers and facilitators. Humans are not just another species, Quindar reported to the Council. They are potential catalysts for the evolution of galactic consciousness. Their ability to form genuine emotional connections could benefit every civilization in our alliance. The Council voted unanimously to fund the Interspecies Emotional Bonding Institute, with headquarters on Earth. Mikyoung and Velar were offered positions as co-directors, but they had one condition. We won't treat relationships like scientific experiments, Mikyoung said firmly. If we're going to help other species learn about emotional bonding, it has to be done with respect for the individuals involved. Agreed, said Director Sang-woo. The Institute will focus on creating environments where natural emotional connections can develop, not forcing artificial bonds. 6 months later, the Institute welcomed its first group of interspecies students. Pairs of individuals from different civilizations came to Earth to study human relationship patterns and attempt to form their own cross-species bonds. Tai Ho, who had started it all by being assigned Velar as a roommate, was now a teaching assistant at the Institute. He watched in amazement as beings from across the galaxy learned to share their thoughts, feelings, and lives with each other. Some of them are actually succeeding, he reported to Mikyoung during one of their regular check-ins. A vegan trader and a Centaurian scientist have formed what looks like a genuine friendship. They're showing the same cognitive enhancements that you and Velar demonstrate. Mikyoung looked out the window of their new office at the campus below. Students from dozens of species walked together in pairs and groups, learning to connect across the vast differences that had once seemed insurmountable. Velar was right, she said. Human emotional bonding is changing the galaxy. And not just through romantic relationships, Velar added, entering the office with a stack of research reports. We're seeing enhanced cooperation in trade negotiations, diplomatic missions, and scientific collaborations. Species that have been isolated for millennia are learning to work together. All because humans know how to fall in love, Taeho marveled. Not just romantic love, Mikyoung corrected. All kinds of love. Friendship, family bonds, caring for strangers. Humans excel at creating connections that make everyone stronger. As the sun set over the campus, Mikyoung and Velar stood together at their office window. Velar's crystal form caught the golden light, casting rainbow patterns across the walls. Mikyoung leaned against their solid, warm presence, feeling the contentment that had become so familiar. Do you ever miss your home world? She asked. This is my home now, Velar replied, their voice soft and musical. Home is not a place. It is being with the one you love. Very philosophical for a crystal being, Mikyoung teased. I learned it from a human, Velar said, their blue lights pulsing with what Mikyoung had learned to recognize as humor. Outside, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Some of those points of light represented the homeworlds of species that had never known emotional connection before coming to Earth. Now, Many of them were returning home with new abilities to bond, cooperate,